next speaker. I mean, let's talk. He's a lawyer. He's from California. He lives in the Bay Area. I mean, the jokes write themselves, don't they? We love him, and we refer to him as Chuckles as our little group. Let me proudly introduce Charly Getz.
Let's get it started first. There we go. Since the green one works as well as the elevators, I thought I would go with same guy fixed both. What can I tell you? We're going to start in a minute. I'm waiting. There's a couple of people stuck in the elevator who want to be here. I want to thank everybody for doing my speech for me already before I even get up here. That was very helpful. Yes, you have heard this speech before, but I'm relying on your age and the fact the last time I was with you was in Sacramento, and a lot of you said, we had one in Sacramento? So let's wait a minute. While we're waiting for the people in the stuck elevator, a shout out to the chatters, right? And arigato to the nice Japanese folks. Raise your hands over there. They gave me about 600 pounds of books to take home. I really appreciate it. They fly here, and they bring 600 pounds of Japanese books, which are about this thick, and apparently made of lead. And then they present them as presents, which, beautiful, but anyway. Also, I was asked by Fred Hill, and you know, when Fred asks you something and he's sober, you better damn well do it, because that does not happen very often. To mention the Narrow Gauge Preservation Foundation, of which I used to be executive director until I palmed it off on Alan. Oh boy, is he a sucker. And it is a great group though, seriously. So if you have not contributed or you're not a member, think about it. It's really good. Now that's the commercials, and they're out of the way. By the way, my talks are kind of known for being a little off color sometimes. So if they're, yes. Oh, good. I wear my protection at all times. I am from San Francisco. Latex devices are well known to us in San Francisco. That foam engine reminded me of my last date, actually. I've seen worse, let me tell you. Oh, thank you for that warning. That's very helpful. Yes, I really like that very much. But if there are any children in the audience, and I think I saw a few youngsters, I'm not going to do anything that is X-rated. But if any of my off-color comments you don't understand, ask your kid. They'll be happy to explain it to you, because on the internet, man, they see everything. Let me tell you that right now. I don't know about you, but I have really, really been looking forward to this talk. I mean, seriously. I got the timetable, and I saw that some guy named His Honor Charles P. Getz, Esquire, was going to speak. I figured there's a judge with a very similar name to mine who's going to talk. Because my name is Charles William Getz, so it's Charles W. Getz, so it couldn't be me. And technically, I hate to say this, it's Charles William Getz IV. Ooh, I know. I have the name, but I don't have any money. And I was amazed that there's just some person, and then I find out that no, it's actually me. Chris apparently had made a little boo-boo. Now, Chris rarely makes mistakes. So I figure this was the result of him being distracted, and as you know, and he mentioned this earlier, as you can see from his lovely hair, right now Chris is in transition. It's not our first trans convention. Remember the Transcontinental Railroad? Who knew? 1869, I had no idea, you know. But in any event, and then Chris works great. It can either be Christopher or Christine. So, you know, Chris is good. Chris is good. And I was so honored as someone from San Francisco, and Chris shared his pronouns with me recently. And even more honored when he told me his lifetime dream of becoming the bearded lady at the Pickle Family Circus. I mean, so if he gets my middle name wrong as well, you know, it's okay. Now, Chris asked me to speak on the stable variations of the C16 class, but I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll give you the same talk I've given the last 15 years with the same jokes, and you will laugh at them because they're new to you. So let's get into this. Here we are at the 43rd National Narrow Gauge Convention in Medical Devices Exposition. I mean, where else in the world can you talk about the Rio Grande Southern or the Colorado and Southern Narrow Gauge and your knee replacement and the latest stent that you just had done at the same time? You quickly learn at these conventions never, when you meet someone, to ask them how they're doing. Because 20 minutes later and 12 photos, you learned about an obscure medical condition you had no damn interest in the first place. The 2030 convention, by the way, you haven't bid on it, but it's going to be held at the Mayo Clinic.
In Phoenix. I'll bid on that one. I'll bid.
And exactly what genius decided that a bunch of challenged octogenarians were the perfect people to have an uber complicated computer program dumped on them? I mean, he says Hoover, which is a vacuum cleaner in England. No, it's Wova. I'm in Silicon Valley. He's telling me how to pronounce the goddamn thing. Wova. Wo means stop. Va is Spanish for go, which means this is a stop and go program, which is perfect because every goddamn 10 feet I was stopped by some stupid message that I had to read. But I do like the profile thing. That was kind of cool. You could add detail like the name of your pet or what was your favorite fruit. I answered Liberace. Messages. With such riveting topics as, what is your favorite locomotive? You could either go on a layout tour or you could read jewelry exhibit has been canceled. Who wants to swap underwear? That was a good one, by the way. Looking for a TTM3 handcar. That was good. And of course, the riveting elevator drama. Would the parts show up in time? Would the hamsters be replaced? 548 overpriced rooms and one elevator. Now that is good hotel selection in my book. It is not the fault of the hotel, it is the fault of the signage in the elevators that have a limit. The signage said 8 people, it did not say 3 model railroaders. Of course they're gonna friggin' break. What do you... They had to have the jaws of life to get people out of the goddamn thing every time they came down to the lobby. It was just amazing. Oh boy, I tell you. But I did love about Wova the interactive layout map. That was kind of cool. Not only did it tell you what order to visit, that was nice, but my version actually spoke. I don't know if you knew that. There's a button you can, and it had a talking feature. So I'd set an address and it'd tell me, you're not really going to that one, are you? That one really sucks. How about number 46? That's a lot better. But the thing I really liked, it told you who had the best cookies. Now that was important. I counted the number of layouts you could either visit or drive to because you couldn't do both. There were 358 layouts to visit in 3 days. I got to tell you, the ones I liked the most were in Idaho and Nebraska. Those, without a doubt, those were really interesting. Love those. Margaret, my wife, asked me if I liked any of the houses, right? I said, how the hell do I know? All I saw were staircases and holes in the ground. Who saw the house? Someone said to me, as Californian, they're called basements. Oh, that's a good, interesting name. We had nice weather for layout visiting, didn't we? Yes, the pattern is this. You had a cool car, you had a hot walk to the house, you had a cool basement, you had a hot walk to the car, then you had a cool car, then repeat as necessary. My skin was snapping by 4 p.m. I was very confused. I love the FN3 outdoor layouts. Did you see any of those? I've never seen trains melt before. It's kind of neat. Little puddles of plastic going around. And by the way, what idiot invented large-scale outdoor railway? I mean, we studiously avoid yard work. And then some idiot comes up with a scale that requires gardens. Who the hell did that? Oh my God, just a side thought. So, they were nice layouts. There were some very, very good ones. But the traffic was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. He said we would. Now, let me explain. Colorado is a wonderful state, but it's been invaded by people fleeing California. So they brought Los Angeles with them, and they aimlessly drive around freeways trying to recreate what they miss. Gridlock. That's why so many of the people you see driving look very confused and very, very upset, because it's moving. They're not used to that in Los Angeles. So now you have to deal with that. And they also, by the way, banned plastic bags here to protect the ocean, which is typical California. Nobody mentioned that Denver doesn't happen to have one of those, but that's okay. So we get to enjoy Los Angeles light and try to find Englewood with an E, not Inglewood with an I, as you would in LA. There were some wonderful layouts. My favorite, hands down, was number 46. Look it up in your layout map. Absolutely the best, number 46. If you didn't see it, I'm very sorry. But my sentimental favorite's got to be really seriously number 1. Harry Brunk, who just passed away recently. Yeah, I've seen it before. Up Clear Creek. Honestly, I did not see a bad layout. Now, not every great layout required driving. There were some in the vendor room, and they were really, really good, seriously. From Bananas to Southwest Oklahoma, even to the San Juan Central Virgin 2, which must have been very tiny because I couldn't find the goddamn thing. Because it wasn't there, was it? By the way, version 1 of the San Juan Central, the real one, is at Sacramento at the NMRA exhibit. Little plug for the NMRA, I'm wearing the shirt. And it's a good exhibit if you're over there. But the best thing about the layout tours, did you notice? 1 in 3 houses had portable defibrillators, which doubled as DCC systems. They're really little paddles, you can either do it in your engine or you can do it. So that was kind of helpful. Clinics, pretty damn good. I learned a lot of neat stuff. It's always fun to sit in a clinic on any subject, because some yahoo's going to spout off about the topic, for sure, with superior knowledge, and drone on and on about some minutiae, slightly off topic. Sometimes that's a clinician, but often it's some guy in row 5, and you're sitting there and you actually get 2 clinics for the price of 1. What the clinician's telling you and what the wise guy in row 5 is correcting the clinician over. But other than that, it was fine. My favorite clinic I went to, without a doubt, writing for the Gazette. Boy, I've been doing it wrong for 48 years. And Bob is too polite to tell me. This is amazing. I was delighted to find this out. And the best clinics were the non-rails. Popcorn in a movie? We didn't get that. And Legendary Ladies of Colorado, I would have paid to see that one. Really? Now, honestly, when it comes to model railroading, I always say the safest place for a woman is the vendor room in a model railroad convention. She could walk in buck stark naked, walk through each and every aisle, and the worst that would happen is someone would say, "Oh, look, an 020." And what about that foam locomotive? Good God, I mean, that was just kind of weird. I bumped and accidentally let the air out, which was very embarrassing. Still, we shouldn't knock it. I mean, Chris was hugging it every morning. It must have meant something to him, I don't know. Now, I had a really raunchy joke I was going to insert here about him, and I'm not going to do it because I like Chris. He does a wonderful job on the annuals. I just wish they'd come out yearly. So I'm not going to do that joke, but if you want to hear it later, come on up. Oh, you want to hear it? Well, you notice what was missing from that locomotive? The tender. And I thought, wait a second, Chris and that locomotive have something in common, a tender behind. Perfect! See, I told you, bad joke.
But how does Charlie know that?
I'm from San Francisco, he was the lead. I know. Now, I'm not going to make any jokes about the contest because that was superb, except for that goddamn paddle boat with a button. You push a button and Mickey Mouse starts talking to you. I don't know what the hell is this all about. They gave it 2 awards just to shut the guy up. I mean, and the vendor rooms, very wide aisles, you know, wheelchairs. But it was nice. A few empty tables, but a lot of great vendors. I have never seen in my life pacemakers in SM3 and OM3 before. That was neat. And the usual feeding frenzy, right? People buying things. Now, a lot of them I could see they were debating, do I get the K36 or do I have my liver transplant? Well, sorry about the liver transplant. I didn't stay at the hotel, but I did enjoy the hike from the lobby to the vendor room, also known as the Baton Death March. We had almost 1,200 attendees. By the time the vendors closed up and the marching was over, we're down to 960, dropping like flies. You know, it's been a great convention, but it is hard to have a bad convention in Colorado. One of the best things about Colorado is when the colors change. You go from green to yellow to red, and that's just the faces of the committee at the registration desk. But it is a wonderful place for a convention. And I want to thank, and we've already done this, but let's do it one more time. Chris and company, Mike, Bill, Duncan, Dwayne, Marie, they did a fantastic job of making this thing really work. So those are the same old jokes. Now, a couple of things. I know the question that is foremost on your mind, and I've already been asked a number of times. Yes, we are living here part-time. No, that was not the question. Bob Brown, how is he doing? Bob is doing good, thanks to you. I go down and visit him quite often. He's only about 10 minutes from our California home. Now, if you didn't know this, he was starting to get back, as people in Colorado, DMV think it is. Margaret and I are now part-time residents here in Colorado. Despite the second mistake made by Chris, we're not in Castle Rock, we're in Castle Pine, which is right next door. But we spent the summer here, mostly working on our basement, getting it fixed up so you didn't see me much. But we're going to be here part-time every year. We look forward to those of you who are local, to interacting with you if you want us. If you don't, we're still going to intrude anyway, so Mike Engler knows all about that. You might as well just get used to us, for here we are. But let me get back to Bob. Bob, as you know, being almost 91, his travel days are behind him. That's why he isn't here. I urged him to come. I said we'd pick him up, we have a house, he could stay there, but he just isn't up to it. And as many of you know, but some of you may not, he lost his beloved Irene 2 years ago now. And they were married 56 years, I think, something like that. So that was really hard. As you can imagine, she was his right arm. She really helped with the Gazette. They were a team. What saved him was the Gazette and modeling. And I suspect that's true of many of you. If you've ever suffered any kind of a tragedy in your life, as silly as it sounds, having a hobby, having friends in the hobby, even reading a magazine, the normalcy of it, it helps. And I know that the Gazette saved Bob. Now that means you saved Bob, because without you, there is no Gazette. How many of you, just out of curiosity, raise hands, read the Gazette on a regular basis? Yeah, that's what I mean. Look at that. That's more votes than Nashville got. All right, it's more votes than Chris got either.
As long as it doesn't get another bad elevator, we're good.
But you realize that we've been doing this, Bob and I, now for 48 years. Bob loves to tell people, I don't know why, because that's embarrassing, I have the longest continuous running model railroad column in history. I've been in every issue since volume 1, number 3. I missed number 2 because Bob didn't tell me what the deadline was. But no, I didn't do it for that reason, but it's just how long this has been. And in 2 years, we're gonna have our 50th anniversary. Now people say, how long is Bob gonna do it? A great answer for you, as long as he can. He has no interest in retiring. And I gotta tell you, White River has been a real godsend. Kevin Udaly, smart man, he left Bob and Sharon Olson, who makes that magazine look the way it does, in place. Didn't touch them. Smart, very smart. And Bob is a master at putting that magazine together, and now he's doing it all by himself. I just write a column and do some reviews. I'm not any part of the creative end. But Bob, if he were here, would be the first to say, the Gazette is nothing without our readers. In fact, he has from day one, he said, and his saying was, the Gazette represents a fine fellowship of modelers, or actually he called it a fellowship of fine modelers. Now, nowadays we have to update that. We'd probably say a fellowship, a ladyship, I don't know, a personship, because we have some wonderful women modelers now too. And some declined estate wonderful modelers too. But it's a fine fellowship of modelers. And although we're not giving the Gazette Award, I know exactly what model would have gotten it, because I know Bob very well. It would have been Terry Stringham for that engine house. He would have gotten the Gazette Award if Bob were still doing it. And there's some wonderful models out there. The Sawmill might have edged it out, I'm not sure. But the point is, our conventions are like reunions, aren't they? Because the Gazette is the glue, as Bob would say, that holds everybody together. It comes every other month, and for me too, it's a fun thing to get. You don't know what's in it. You open the pages, you get inspired. Maybe you get a great idea. Maybe you just get something that you can do to keep yourself occupied. There's some inspiring thought, or there's some article that piques your interest. And that's what makes the magazine so much fun for all of us, whether we produce it, or whether we write for it, or whether we just read it. And the readers are more important than any of us who work on it. So that's the point of this whole thing. And these narrow gauge conventions, which we try to promote in the Gazette as much as we can, are a representation of that in person. Because we're an amalgamation of Gazette readers who come together every year in different places and greet each other as old friends, because that's what we are. And I do mean old friends. Because we're all getting older, if we're lucky. So, one other thought, we are a worldwide community. We're not just based in North America. At this convention, I know we have such foreign countries represented, I believe, as Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, and Texas. I used to speak Texan, so if any of you need translation, let me know. You come with subtitles. Dwayne needs subtitles. We're a worldwide group, and whenever you go anywhere in the world, especially Japan, by the way, they're the most gracious people on earth. Whenever you go anywhere in the world, you have friends you haven't met yet. Margaret and I do a lot of traveling overseas. And you would be amazed, or you wouldn't be, at the number of interactions we have with Gazette readers and even model railroaders who have no idea what narrow gauge is, because we all speak the common language of model railroading. And it is an open door for all of us. So if you are a spouse and you're looking at these little toy trains and you're wondering, what in the fur is this all about? And why is my idiot husband or wife doing this? Remember something, and that is, this is a portal to another world. It's a portal to places you could not get to without that hobby. And you go to England, I'll give you one example. We went to England, and one of our friends, as it turned out, NMRA member, as it turned out, was a taxi driver in London. Well, he set up the most incredible tour in a 1938 vintage taxi with an open cabriolet taxi. All over London, people were snapping pictures of us. This thing was absolutely amazing. And we had a tour free of the entire city of London in the back of this 1938 taxi. Nothing to do with model railroading, but he was a model railroader, he set it up. We have people in our hobby who are in every industry, in every walk of life. We were on a cruise, we got off of Sweden in a town, and I knew a fellow named Ruther Freiberg, I think his name was, and I knew he worked for Volvo. But he offered to show us his club in Sweden. They had a model railroad club, including narrow gauge. And so we had a tour, and we find out later he's a senior vice president of Volvo, and the car we're driving in hasn't even been released yet. It was some magic of all-electric Volvo they're just about to release. So, I mean, who knew? It's like that everywhere. You don't have to be a Charly Getz to have that experience. You can be anybody, as long as you're in the fellowship, the ladyship, of fine modeling, and you're a Gazette person or not, you will have this experience. So the next time you think it's just a silly hobby, we play with trains, you know, no, it's not. And one other thing I just noticed, which kind of drove me crazy, you know how they tell us as model railroaders, we have to have a track plan that is realistic. And so you go to the Colorado Railroad Museum, what do? They run the goddamn locomotive in a loop. I was looking for the friggin' Christmas tree, but I didn't see it. Now, if you've missed any part of this talk, no worries, I will be speaking next year in Pittsburgh. With the same friggin' notes, by the way. Because none of this will have changed. Except the elevators. Well, I'll give you a preview of Pittsburgh. They have a god-awful sandwich with pickles in it and French fries. Yeah, what is that thing called? Yeah, that's it. Don't have one. Go on an elevator before you have a Provani. Hope the elevator gets stuck. You cannot have a Provani, all right? No, it'll be a great time. Go to Pittsburgh. In fact, go to all of them, because they're all different, they're all fun, they're all run by wonderful people, including Chris and his wonderful committee, and you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to go back and tell Bob, we're going back to California in 2 weeks, I'm going to go back and tell Bob how great this was, how much he's appreciated here, and I think that's true, and how much he's missed. And if you have any messages for him, send him a note. He loves getting emails, he really does. And he's in the magazine, so you can get his email address. I think it's Gazette at att.net or something like that. But otherwise, thank you for your patience, thank you for being so gracious, thank you for coming to this convention, and thank you so much for reading the Gazette. Peace, see you next year. Thank you.